People of the internet, welcome back to another video. It is I, Don Thomas, back in here with another one. As always, folks, the likes, the comments, the subscribes are all greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for the support on this channel. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into today's topic. Man, I don't know what to make of this world anymore, folks. Every day that I wake up, I scroll through social media or I get online, you just start seeing these headlines that just never cease to amaze me. It makes me feel like nothing in this world is real. It's like it's either all jokes, I just feel like we're straying further and further away from the light, as they would say. Came across an article. This one comes from New York Post, entitled, "Scientists grew a pair of testicles in a lab and they offer new hope for male infertility." Scientists grew a pair of balls in a lab in hopes of curing male infertility. Now, folks, I know I teeter along the line of some might say, oh, he's a conspiracy theorist. Some might say, oh, he's reaching, he's falling for the traps of the fear-mongering from the media. I just want to make it very clear to you. I'm not a fool. I'm not sitting here, taking everything at face value. And just the same way I recommend to you guys as well, too. Take everything with a grain of salt, right? A lot of the headlines I'm reading nowadays could be fact or fiction. But nonetheless, in this example, let's just say, for example, this is real, right? The article goes on to read, it says, "This is pretty nuts. Researchers at Israel's Bar Ilan University," I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, "have grown, quote, laboratory testicles they hope could eventually ease male infertility, which affects 10 to 15% of American men." Now, folks, well, let me keep reading before I dive in. My fault. I want to say something. The article goes on to read, "The tiny artificial organs produced from cells extracted from mouse testes are said to resemble the structure and function of natural mouse testicles. The researchers, led by Dr. Nitzan Gonen, are aiming to develop human-like testicles from human stem cells to help treat developmental sex disorders and infertility." I think it's the doctor quotes here. "Fertility clinics are able to identify some of the problems that cause male infertility, a low sperm count, or an abnormal structure, but we don't understand fully what causes this, which genome mutations led to the condition, or what went wrong in the testicles functioning, as a result of which the tubes do not carry the sperm well. Now it will be possible to study these subjects within the system of the model we have produced," she added. Okay, so this is female. It says here, "Biologists have already generated organoids, three-dimensional miniature versions of immature organs that resemble the brain, kidneys, and intestines from stem cells." You're going to read that last part again. "Biologists have already generated organoids, which are three-dimensional miniature versions of immature organs that resemble the brain, kidneys, and intestines from stem cells." What are we after? What's the goal here? This is what I was going to say before I hop back in. When presenting things like this, of course, there's always going to be pros and cons. There's always going to be, the health benefit or the advantage of us, embarking on such a venture. Male infertility is indeed a thing. It does indeed affect 10 to 15% of American men. I am, somewhat familiar with these stats that male infertility, of course, as males get older, as anybody gets older, right? As your body starts getting older, things start working less. Your bones start hurting, your muscles start aching. The normal human function does indeed start to decrease. That I do understand. My thing is this, folks. Are we playing God? When we start creating food in a lab and body parts in a lab, like, is that our right to do? Or, because again, I'm always going to look at both sides, man. Educate me, man. I always want to hear what you guys think as well, too. Or are we saying we've been blessed by God, right, with the knowledge to do so that we can prolong life or whatever the case is? Is that something that you think is a benefit of creating body parts in the lab? Because I look at it like this. You got testicles, you got brain, you got kidney, you got intestines. How far are we from just cloning humans? And to be completely honest, that's maybe a video for another day, but I do believe clones are walking amongst us. That's another video for another day. But I just want you to kind of understand, like, you know, again, I always say this a lot as well, too, in a lot of these videos, man. The stuff that you see in movies, I don't think they're just movies. I mentioned that a lot, man. All these, you know, futuristic movies, these dystopia movies that show, you know, what potentially could be. Sometimes we just chalk it up as, that's fiction, man. It'll never be. I don't know. A lot of these things that you see on these movies and these TV shows, I'm not necessarily ruling out as possibilities of what could be reality. I personally believe clones are walking amongst us right now. Right? Because these scientists, of course, there's going to be the things that are happening that they're willing to tell the public, and there's the things that they're doing behind the scenes that they would never tell the public. And I think this is up that alley. What's really happening on Mars and the moon? We may never know. What does lie in the depths of the ocean, far below where the submarines can't reach? What's going on over there? What's happening in Antarctica? The world may never know. But yet they start calling you a conspiracy theorist when you start to dabble on the possibilities of what could be. Folks, my thing is this. Yeah, you'll rebuttal and say, but no, bro, like, I got a family member, or, you know, my dad, or like my mom has a situation where, you know, this could really benefit them, bro, you know. And I'll be like, yeah, I hear you, bro. I hear you. What's the other thing I was going to do a video on? I think Elon said they, you know, got some headway with the brain chip. I think there's an official human person with a brain chip in their head, and they can now scroll a computer with their mouth or something like that. You know, what about the people who, you know, suffer from certain, you know, disabilities, car accidents, whatever the cases, and they're paralyzed from the neck down, bro? This type of technology could, you know, be something that can help them. I hear you, bro. I do hear you, bro. I do. But clearly you could hear in the tone of my voice and the stance that I'm, you know, you could maybe get a good idea of the stance that I'm taking when I say that some things I just don't think we should be dabbling with. Some things I feel like there's certain lines we just don't cross. And it's like, if you're starting to make body parts in labs, you're making food in labs, what does that mean for the human race? AI technology is growing, taking over jobs. You do see, I think I did say this in the video, you do see when I said humans will be obsolete. You do see that, right? It's not so much of a stretch when I say things like humans will be obsolete. They're not going to need us anymore. The robots are taking the jobs. They're making body parts in labs. What's going to be the use of the biological human that came from a man and woman? When these corporations, these greedy corporations are, you know, outsourcing things like, humans, no, we don't need to do that. Let's just cook it up in the lab. What direction are we headed in? When things that you would once deem only suitable for humans, or that can be done by humans, when they're, you know, what does that mean for the human race? You know, you start questioning about things about the human soul and the essence of consciousness. That gets real deep if you want to dive down that rabbit hole. Consciousness, and what is consciousness, and where does consciousness lie? Is there a soul? Is there, you know, a heaven and hell, this and that, the other? What happens when you die? Like, if we're dabbling on things, on creating body parts in labs, creating food in labs, creating all these things and chalking it up just to technological advances, what does that mean for the human race? I don't know, man. Like I said, folks, there's some things I just feel like, you know, and depending on your spiritual beliefs, of course, you know, I openly make it clear that I am a firm believer in a higher power. I like to call that higher power God. I'm not going to say I'm the most religious person, but there's just things that I believe off my own observation of the world, my own personal experiences and experiences of others. I do believe that there's something greater at play. I also believe that there's certain lines we shouldn't be crossing, man. And when you start saying that you're making human testicles in a lab, brains in a lab, food in a lab, think we're starting to reach into territory that we shouldn't really necessarily be embarking on. But that's just my take. I hear you, man. Like I said, oh, man, this is going to help this. This is going to help that, man. This is going to prevent this. Think about it, bro. I hear you, bro, but then what is life? The greatest philosophical question of all time. What is life then if we don't necessarily need a man and a woman to have kids anymore? We can just cook it up in a lab. What is life? What's the essence of this whole thing? What is consciousness? What does it mean to be a person, a being, if it all can be created in a lab? And what does that mean for the future moving forward? What are your thoughts, folks? I'd love to hear it. What do you make of this ballsy situation where scientists are creating human body parts in hopes of just, lowering male infertility? Of hopes of, being able to give people eyesight and things of that nature. All these advances that you're hearing about, oh, the scientists did this, the scientists did that, but they're only doing it because they want to help us, right? That's what they're gonna pitch to you, is that they want to help us, guys. God knows what they're really doing behind the scenes. God knows only the capabilities that are really happening behind the curtain, the things that will never see the light of day for the public eye. I don't know, man. I think we are charting on territories that we should maybe think twice on. But that's just my take. Of course, I'd love to hear yours down in the comment section. As always, the likes, the comments, and subscribes are all greatly appreciated. I do genuinely appreciate the support of this channel. I will catch you on the next one.